Over Thanksgiving, we took a family trip to Utah, visiting most of the national parks, including Arches National Park. It's a really cool park. If you haven't gone yet, I definitely encourage adding it to your bucket list. Being that it was both a holiday week and a very popular national park, you can bet it was quite busy. Now, this arch in particular is one of the more famous spots where everyone likes to go and have their photos taken. Now, what you don't see in the picture is the mob of people that are leaving from having taken their photos or waiting in line for us. And it's really hard to get up in there and just take a picture with your group. Now, I know a lot of people like to stop others because they're like, hey, can you just stop for a second? I need to take a picture of this person, which I kind of get, but then they stand there forever and just take picture after picture after picture, and they do it with multiple cell phones, and they hold people up. I personally, I don't own the space, right? None of us own the space. I personally don't ask people to get out of my picture. I don't have a right to, and I think that's actually a bit rude. And so what we ended up with was a family photo with a group of strangers on the left side of the frame. And that's what I'm going to clean up today. Now, right now, I'm in Affinity Photo. Now, I personally prefer Affinity Photo whenever possible. And I'm not saying that's better than Photoshop. I'm just saying I really hate Adobe's subscription model. So I'm going to see if I can do anything with Affinity Photo. What I'm going to attempt to do is use tools in Affinity Photo to clean this up, mainly the Inpainting tool. So what you do is you just get a marquee selection around the subjects you wish to remove, and then from the edit menu, select Inpaint. And this is the result. It's not very convincing. I'll admit this tool is hit or miss. If I just undo what I did and try to do it again, it's going to give me the exact same results no matter what. The only way I can really change the output is to change the selection. So if I go back in here and I make a bigger selection, try to sample more of the rocks on the left, and then I'll try it again, and that is not what I want. As I've already stated, I am a fan of Affinity Photo. I support them. I purchase all the products. I try to support the underdog whenever possible. But in complete and total honesty, they are lagging behind in the latest in AI features that tools like Photoshop are using. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to Photoshop. And again, I'm going to select the people on the left. And in the prompt, I'm going to type remove people. We're going to wait for a bit, let it work. And you know what? It's not perfect, but I think this is better than what Affinity Photo did. I really do like AI as a tool. I don't think it does all the work. I don't think it should do all the work, but it can help speed up the process. Now, one of the features of Generative Fill in Adobe that you don't get in Affinity Photo is you could regenerate the whole thing all over again. Now, I showed you in Affinity Photo that I did an undo and I reran the operation and got the same result. With Generative Fill, you can get different results. In fact, each time you click the Generate button, it gives you 3 options to pick from, which I do like. Now, 2 of these 3 options I like. Do I have to pick one? No. You can actually blend and mix these a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one version of this that I like. I'm going to duplicate the layer, and I'm going to pick a different version. Now I can just paint over the mask and expose only the parts that I want from the top layer. And now I feel I have something I can work with, actually. So what I'll do is I'll make another layer over it. I'll do a little clone stamping, a little healing brush, clean it up a little bit, try to blend the two together. Now I think I have something that's actually usable. So the second problem with this photo is the selfie arm. I took this with the Insta360. So like a lot of selfie shots with a 360 camera, you always have that one arm just sticking out there, holding what appears to be nothing. This is one really cool thing that Generative Fill can do when it does it right. So what I can do is draw a marquee selection around my arm, and then in the prompt, I'm just going to type remove selfie arm. Give it a moment to think. Okay. Let me cycle through the 3 options here. Nope, nope, and nope. That's pretty bad. However, I can just redo the generative fill and see if it does something different. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to change the marquee selection. Sometimes that helps. So I'm going to reselect around my arm, give myself a little more room to work with, or not myself, but give the AI some more room to work with. And then let's see what it comes up with. All right, the first one looking better. Got some artifacts going on over there. The second one actually is not bad. There's some potential there. Let's check out the third one. Oh, that is really convincing, actually. I like it. I like that a lot. I mean, that is a lot easier than trying to manually fix this in Affinity Photo. That would have taken hours. I wouldn't have even done it, to be honest. I just left my arm hanging out there. That would have made me crazy. This is actually pretty impressive. I mean, what it did with the shirt, the shadow around my arm, it's casting shadow on my stomach. It's, wow, that's actually really impressive. And the last thing I would want to do is fix the butt. All right, around my butt. I don't know what's going on there. If I zoom back out, that's not bad. That is not bad at all. Now, granted, I would probably do more work if this was a professional photo, but this is not a professional photo. This is just a family photo that I'm going to clean up and then she's going to post on social media. So there's really no reason to pixel peep on this. However, I do want to do a little bit more editing just to polish up the photo in general. All right, so what I have in the background is a bright blue sky casting hard shadows and everything. It'd be great if I could get a little bit of clouds in there. So I'm going to draw a marquee selection kind of loosely around the opening and just see what it can do. And it's just doing too much. It's modifying too much of the rocks. I just want to add clouds to the sky. So I'm actually going to jump over to a different tool, which I think might work better. All right, so I exported the TIFF out of Photoshop and I brought it into Luminar Neo. So I'm going to use Luminar to touch up this photo. Let's hop over to the Edit tab. Let's click on Enhance and bring up the Accent AI. I like to bring it all the way up and then I'm going to bring it back down. Let's try the Sky Enhancer. It's not doing anything. Nothing useful. All right, let's try to add a sky. So we're going to go down here and open the drop down and I want to find a sky that's got just light clouds in it. All right, there's some pretty drastic options that I don't think will work. Plus with the hard lighting and all that, I do need to leave the sky fairly exposed. So I think some loose wispy clouds like this, actually. Let's try a few others. But I think I like this. And now I'm going to go into develop mode and I'm going to adjust some of the basic lighting parameters. Just kind of tweak exposure up and down. Not sure if I like that at all. Actually, yeah, I'm going to do a gradient here. What I want to do is, because it's kind of bright around the edges, so I actually want to do a little radial gradient here and then kind of bring down exposure, basically a vignette. Okay. I don't like to use vignette tools per se. I think vignettes are way too concentrated along the edges. I prefer to do like a radial mask and then do an exposure adjustment. And that way I can have it taper off into the subject. And also using a radial gradient over vignette tools allows me to actually position the mask where it's appropriate. And a vignette is just assuming like it'd be right in the center. All right, so now I want to come down to color. I'm going to do some adjustments, bring down the vibrance a little bit. All right, I think enough of that. Let's check out the structure. Bring that up. Bring it down. Let's go way up and pull it back down. Yeah, I think that's good. Not too much, just a little bit. I'm a firm believer in a little bit goes a long ways. So just because a control can go to 100 doesn't mean it needs to be at 88 or 92. All right. You can put that value at like 10 and it's probably going to look a lot better. Now I'm going to play with the relight feature. Now this is a big reason I came over to Luminar Neo. This is a feature that I do like in the software, which is relight. It basically lets you kind of relight the foreground, the background of a scene separately. So we're going to play around with that. I'm going to bring the brightness near up really high. Okay, doesn't need to be that high. Let's bring it down to about there. And then in the distance, the brightness far, we're going to push it down a little bit, get a little bit darker in the background so it's not so overwhelming. I'm going to adjust the brightness near a little bit more, maybe just pull it back some. It doesn't need to be so drastic. And again, adjust the brightness far. All right, let's do a before and after. That was before. It's a little bit laggy right now, even on my computer. And after. Going through atmosphere, nah, nothing in here I want to mess with. How about dramatic? Now let's bring up the drama in the scene. Way up and way down. I kind of like it. I think we're right about there. Again, subtle, not too much drama, right? It's vacation. You shouldn't have that much drama. Now I'm just bringing local contrast up and down, trying to see if that does anything that I like. So what you're probably noticing is I'm dragging the sliders up and down. The image will blur a little bit in Luminar Neo. When it blurs, that's kind of Luminar telling you to hold on a second. I'm trying to update and keep up with you. So when it blurs, release the control, whatever setting it's at, and just see what it looks like. I'm just reviewing some of the features towards the bottom. Is there anything that I want to mess with here? Let's try the brilliance. Ooh, no. That's a little much. Though bringing it down a little bit, I do like. I don't honestly like the oversaturation that a lot of these tools will do. I mean, there's just way too much vibrance and saturation by default. And I'm not always about that, to be completely honest. That's just not the look that I like. Overall, I'm pretty happy. Now, if this was a professional photo, something someone was paying me for, or something I was going to make prints out of, this would not pass muster. And let me show you why. So let's start by critiquing the generative fill on the rocks that we did in the very beginning in Photoshop. As I'm looking at it, I don't know if I like that little hump as much. I think it's kind of distracting. I would probably go back in Photoshop and go through this again and see if I get results that are a little more pleasing. I don't mind the rocks on the side that's facing the camera, just at the very top where people were sitting at. That part, now that I look at it, not really feeling it. Also, if you look around the edge here in the hole, you will see some haloing effects that were from Luminar Neo when I put in the sky effect. But overall, I am pretty happy with this actually. This is much quicker than trying to hand paint out all those people and fix all those rocks, do everything manually like I used to do it. And not to sound all preachy on my soapbox, but I am happy that I can get photos like this with my family without telling other people that they can't stand there or walk there or wherever. I like using these tools. It allows us to go in here really quickly. We can take our photos, get out, let other people go in there and get their photos, and then later I can just come home and clean it up. But I also want to show you how you can use these tools to really speed up your workflow overall. If I was trying to do this all in Affinity Photo, this would have taken me days. This would have driven me nuts actually. And I do hope that you found this video interesting and informative. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time.